With that said, Doc, what are some factors that determine a good school versus a hood school?
Yeah,
Why doesn't America have more good schools?
right. And one of my guys, brother named Kevin Kumashiro, he broke this thing down to me. He was like, man, look, we gotta think about schooling in the United States. And he broke this thing down. He's like, man, look, even under white supremacy, schooling wasn't even intended to educate white people. Right? Look, man, this. He was like, you said this how serious this thing is. He was like, man, it wasn't even intended to educate them, right? It was to be this system of training, and that was about it, right? It was to be training for servitude, right? So now you may got a little skill, you may get a little factory gig, but now you in servitude to folks, right? So he was like, look, you have to think about, so now if that was the gate for white folks, you can imagine under white supremacy what we would get, right?
Yeah.
So this thing around this, and in many cases, these old white dudes used to tell on themselves, right? So I would always have my students look at the work of Noah Webster. So Noah Webster, we know him for dictionaries, what have you, but Noah Webster was an educator, and he wrote all of these pieces around democracy. And he would write this thing. He would say, "Look, well, true democracy would lead to total anarchy, and
Mm.
if and
Hmm.
to prevent anarchy, we need a system of training that develops commitment to country and nation." So so this thing around, so he's saying this, like, this is Webster's words, like he's putting this in the conversation. So this, to your question, Kaide, it's always, well, look, you have a country that actually has reserved education for the well-to-do. So now we have to think about, we live in a country where it's not really committed to education beyond the level of training and servitude. So for people who rule, it's a different, it looks completely different. So a question that one of my homies would always ask in Chicago is, who's taught to rule and who's taught to obey?